The other day, my friend asked me, is 1,000 of Aerodrome's native token called Aero good enough? Even though nothing I say is financial advice, here are my thoughts on it. And my outlook is this. If let's say maybe Aerodrome's native token called Aero were to, let's say, in a make-believe scenario, went to the price of $15. Now at that point, 1,000 Aero, we times that by $15, 15 grand. Now some people may be thinking, okay, who cares about that? Well, here's my mentality. If let's say, for whatever reason in this make-believe scenario, Aero does do that, right? And then let's say, again, that holding becomes 15 grand. I save 50% of that, so I save 7,500. Let's say I use that for the next cycle, and maybe that does a 10x for whatever reason, again, during the next cycle. That hypothetically becomes 75 grand. Now, some people may be thinking, who cares about that, right? But then, in my opinion, I actually don't find that too disappointing because, for instance, I know a lot of friends out there. It's not like they have not much coming in. Maybe some of them are earning like 100, 150, 200 or whatever, right? In terms of like per year, in terms of 1,000. But then being able to save like that amount, arguably, I think in some cases it's not that easy because we have to take a look at, for instance, the expenses, consistent traveling that I see sometimes with my friends, constantly eating out, constantly getting, depreciating assets, and also maybe expensive car payments that maybe it's a car that they don't really need something that expensive. So there's kind of a combination, but it's going to depend on a case-by-case basis. But again, if I kind of consider that, not many people that I know out there have that much saved up, again, 75 grand, considering the expenses, even despite having a lot coming in. Not to mention, let alone in their portfolio, So this is, for me, I don't think such of a bad thing, I would say, arguably, but this is just my mindset. Now, if we take a look at Aero, maybe at the idea of $15, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around 13 billion, and that's around 11x from here. Now, some people may be thinking, well, who cares? Well, this is my mentality. If let's say Bitcoin went to 300 grand, that's less than a 3x from here. If Ethereum went to 10 grand, that's also less than a 3x from here. So when I take a look at something like that, the way I take a look at it is that maybe the idea of an 11x wouldn't really disappoint me, arguably. Not to mention, we've seen something like Uni. Now, Uni is the native token of Uniswap, and that reached a market cap of over 20 billion back in 2021. And Uniswap, I get it, arguably it's the most popular decentralized exchange out there, and I'm not saying that Aerodrome is going to overtake that, but achieving kind of like a glimpse of that market cap, it doesn't seem like too, I think, ridiculous to me, especially considering that Uni reached that back in 2021. You know what I mean? During the peak of that bull run that year in 2021, around 300 million crypto owners. Now we have over 600 million. So it's kind of like a 9-day difference, really. Pretty much double the amount of crypto owners. Not to mention, Aerodrome is a decentralized exchange on the Base network. The Base network is Coinbase's layer 2. Now, we have to consider what is even kind of like the good thing about a layer 2, because a layer 2, basically what it does in this case is that it allows Ethereum to be enjoyed, but at the same time not necessarily having to deal with kind of the drawbacks like, the high gas fees or scalability issues. So that's kind of the unique thing about, again, a layer 2. Now, people may be thinking, okay, there's a bunch of layer 2s out there, who cares? Well, again, it's not that the Base network, arguably, in my opinion, is really that revolutionary in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's a layer 2, right? But then at the same time, even though there's many layer 2s out there, this one is Coinbase's layer 2, and Coinbase is very massive. Of course, we know that it's publicly listed, and again, I think being publicly listed is a awesome thing when it comes to Coinbase. Not to mention, Coinbase is even in the S&P 500, so when something like that has a layer 2, it's something I'm going to pay attention to. Not to mention, if I often ask people what is the most popular project, or should I say something that they find very synonymous with the Base network, believe it or not, a lot of my friends out there, they do mention a meme coin, and that's something called Brett. And I think that, if anything, kind of showcases how early kind of the Base network is, because if a top project for a layer 2 is pretty much a meme coin, and it's not even like a meme coin that is kind of that mainstream yet, I think that kind of showcases kind of the condition of the layer 2 in a sense where it may not seem like there's too much competition in terms of the projects, right? And even in my perspective, if someone asked me what are the top 3 most popular projects that I kind of focus on when it comes to the Base network, of course, I would think that Bread is also very popular, so I would put that at number 1. And I think number 2 or number 3, it's kind of like a toss-up between Aerodrome and as well as Toshi. Now, Toshi is another meme coin, and I'm very bullish on Toshi, by the way, but even besides that, when I take a look at like having Aerodrome pretty much arguably, in my opinion, a top 3 popular project on the base network, I think that kind of showcases something as well. Because if, let's say, Aerodrome was kind of associated with a different like place, let's say, right? Maybe it wouldn't be top 3 in terms of popularity. You know what I mean? Like if we take a look at Solana, for instance, there's many decentralized finance projects out there. This is just kind of my mindset. Also take a look at Avalanche, right? But when it comes to the base network, it seems like kind of Aerodrome is still, I would say, arguably the most popular decentralized exchange on the base network. And the crazy thing is this: the base network doesn't have its own native token. So for me, if I believe in the base network, but then I don't have a way to acquire its native token, kind of an alternative, the way you take a look at it. I'm not telling you to do anything, by the way, but what I do is I just believe on the projects that are on the base network, which of course I do find good. I'm not just going to believe in any random project on there, right? But this is kind of the unique thing about the base network. But this is just my mindset. I'm not telling you to do anything, but ultimately speaking, I'm just going to stay patient because altcoins usually, historically speaking, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And that would actually mean October this year, give or take, considering how the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year. Now, is that a guaranteed date? I think actually no, because who knows if it's going to be the same this cycle. Like it may be different. Maybe it happens in November, December, Q1 of next year. I mean, there's no way for me to know the exact moment in time because I do not know the future. But at least what I can do is stay patient and just wait for a moment in time in which it does something. Because quite frankly, again, that is the only thing that is within my control. I'm not focused on finding the exact moment in time. It's just more so about preparing for a moment in time, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm going to do. Just stay patient, hold, and I just wait. And that's pretty much it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.